You got the 40k Demons book, brand new, hot off the shelf. Got it today. I'm going to take a look. I want to do just a quick run through, take a look at some of the thoughts that I have about this, some interesting things. I will say, after reading through it, you're going to be able to suss out some interesting combinations. There's stuff for people who really want to dig into demons. However, I feel the real power of this book is going to be buffing other armies, specifically chaos armies that have other demons in them. So you'd take a detachment of chaos demons, probably something super cheap, just so you can use all the stratagems that are involved inside. Anyways, we'll go through here a little bit. We'll go through the armies of the Imperium. This is just some of the rule book here. It gives all of the old rules that are already in the index for the specific demons, like Slaanesh, Striking Furs, Disgustingly Resilient. Those all remain the same. Some of the things that they did change are the Bloodthirsters. They made a melee profile that lets them deal with big groups of people. Basically, they would get mobbed before because they only had like 4 to 6 attacks, and you would just send in some guardsmen, and they would just hold them down the entire fight. Now they can actually double the amount of attacks they have and make an attack with the alternate profile, kind of like a stomp for knights, but it does less damage. It's typically like minus 2 AP 1 damage. I think all of them are minus 2 AP 1 damage. But it can clear out all of those guardsmen that it would be fighting. They're still hitting on 2 pluses, so they'll be able to wipe them out. That's pretty cool. Did rename all of the heralds pretty much in this book. I'm not seeing a whole lot of changes. They did nerf a lot of stuff. The Changeling used to be +1 to invulnerable saves within 9 inches. Now it's each time a Demon of Tzeentch model within 9 inches loses final wound, you roll a d6, and on a 6, it ignores the final wound being removed. Before, you could make, it gave everybody -1 to be hit. So instead of being -1 to be hit, now it's just save a wound on a 6. I don't know that he's super good anymore. Fine, he's the same points. He got super nerfed. They've named the Heralds to Changecaster, Fate Skimmer for Tzeentch, and Fluxmaster. Got the new named Greater Demon of Nurgle, Rotigus. He's the same power level as the Great Unclean One, which is also new. Great Unclean One's got some new options. One of them lets him kind of regenerate people, Plague Demons is what it is? Yeah. On a 4-up, a single slain model is returned to that unit, which is cool. It actually affects all Nurgle Demon units within 7 inches. On a 4-up, they'll get it back. That's with the Bell. So I think that one's going to be pretty powerful. Epidemius is pretty much the same. We've got Snail Horticulus Slimux. He affects Beasts of Nurgle, which is also a new model that's coming out, but for an old unit. He improves them a bit. He also has the ability to plop down those feculent gnarl maws. In 40k, what it does is if a unit is completely within 7 inches of a feculent gnarl maw, they get a cover save, but that cover save is actually 2 to their save. So it gives them a pretty good bonus to their save. However, typically they have a 6-up anyways, so that puts them in a 4-up. If there's any rend at all, it's going to put them back to their invulnerable save. Not sure. It does let all Nurgle units that are within 7 inches of him run and charge in the same turn. I think of the Gnarlmaw of the tree. So I think that's where this run. Yeah. So I think that's the good thing. They have a Poxbringer, which is one of the new Nurgle heralds. He's just a regular herald. You got the Sloppity Bilepiper and the Spoilpox Scrivener. So the Bilepiper basically makes it so when your demons, specifically Nurgle demon, has to take a morale test, you roll 2 dice and then take the lowest, which is pretty sweet because with your icons on your plague bearers and things like that, it gives you a better chance to hit a 1, which can make reality blink, which is pretty awesome. And then the and let me see, he also adds +1 to the attack's characteristics of the Great Unclean Ones and also to Nurglings, which is kind of cool. The Scrivener is, I think, really cool. It adds 2 to the movement of all of Plague Bearer infantry units, which is pretty cool. And then also, he adds 1 to the hit rolls of Plague Bearers. And on a 7, they get to make another attack on top of Other cool things like the locust that you get from him for having a full Nurgle army. So if you're within 6 inches of any character, anytime you roll a 6 to wound, they will do 2 wounds instead of 1. So not only are you going to be a +1 to hit, but you could possibly be making more attacks and then also doing more damage. So this guy really buffs that guy of the Plague Bearers. We get the Tzeentch, Keep Your Secrets, Massive Slanesh, pretty much the same. Be'lakor got changed. He only has access to 3 spells. He went up in points. The Demon Prince of Chaos got changed to power level 8 instead of, I think, 11 or 10 before. He went to the same price as the Chaos Space Marine one. Bloodletters are the same. Horrors. My favorite. They basically completely nerfed horrors. Yeah. So pink horrors, they're still the same. Blue horrors now only have a 5-up invulnerable save. Our favorite brimstones, who's had lots of awful changes happen to them, because I love them. So since they used to be 2 points each, now they're 3 points each. They have a 6-up invulnerable save now. So they
used to be
a 4-up. So with the Changeling, you could make them -1 to be hit, 4-up invulnerable save. Pretty awesome. Now they're simply, trash. Just to hold objectives, get in the way. They have no other use. So they're not as cool as they used to be. They're still fairly cheap, but I think I'd rather have... Pinks are only a couple more points more. Plague Bearers, they've got a lot of buffs, not from in the unit, from outside of the unit. Nurglings are still awesome. They also have this Mischief Makers still 9 inches from the enemy's battle zone and any enemy models, so that's cool. They've got awesome infiltrate. Demonettes, they have actually a lot of buffs from other things. A spell that can make things pile in and attack again, adding up buffs. They can run and charge. There's a lot of things going on with these guys. Slanesh actually got a pretty good buff. Nurgle got a great buff. Tzeentch, I don't see why you'd take them. Khorne seems pretty good. Their new locust that lets you reroll charges. Pretty cool. The big loser was Tzeentch in this one. Flamers actually are better, and so are Exalted Flamers. So Exalted Flamers used to be a D3 on their big shots. Now they're 3. And then Flamers, they just got a little bit of buff on their attack. Beasts of Nurgle... Yep, they're pretty much the same still. Fiends of Slanesh, still pretty decent. Seekers are pretty sweet now with the extra locus, so they can move up to 21 inches in a turn on just their normal move, advanced move, and then they can charge after that, so they can go up to another 13 inches. So that's 34-inch charge possible with these guys. Pretty sweet.
Wait, how does it do that?
So it's got a move of 14, and it adds 1 to advance and charge rolls. So you add 2 to that 14, so that's 16, and then you add
12.
6 to that for the advance. So that's 22 plus 12, 34-inch charge possible.
So you can charge after you advance.
If your entire army is Slanesh, your detachment, then your characters get a locus that lets you run and charge as long as you're within 6 inches of one of those characters at the start of the charge phase.
That's bananas.
Yeah, so they're pretty quick. The Hellflayers, they get the same kind of bonus. They move 12, so they're going to be able to get in combat pretty easy. Furies are still garbage. Skull Cannons, Burning Chariots, all the same. The chariots are all the Slanesh chariots are better because of that. Soul Grinder seems to have gone down a little bit in power level. I haven't checked out their points. I still think they're pretty trash just because they're hitting on 4s at best. They're not bad. They're just kind of there. Feculent Narwhal, we already took a look at that. So these count as units before they're deployed. Once they're deployed, they can't move, and then they're treated as a terrain feature. And when you put them down initially, if you make them with the snail, you can just drop 1. If you make them at the start of fortification, something like that, you can set up to 2 extra. So you can set 3 of them. They all have to be within 6 inches of each other. So you'd have to make some sort of weird triangle with them. But you can make a pretty bit of them there. So their rules are can't be moved, can't be targeted, can't be affected by anything. Nurgle demon units, except vehicles and monsters that are completely within 7 inches, receive cover, and that cover is a 2+. At the start of your turn, roll a d6 for every unit that's within 3 inches of affecting Narmal. On a 4-up, that suffers a mortal wound. On a 6, they take a d3. Nurgle's not affected. I mean, your opponent's not going to get within 3 inches of it, basically.
Put it over an objective.
Possibly. It depends on where the objectives are, but yeah, you could possibly do that. It also has a thing where Nurgle demon units within 7 inches of them at the start of their turn can shoot and or charge even if they fell back or advanced. I didn't catch that fell back before. That's kind of cool. And then when you summon demons with them, if they're Nurgle, re-roll the dice. I don't think that one's going to come into effect too much. They still have all of the weapons and everything rolled in for the character costs at the end, and all the units, they all have costs included. The one exception is Great Unclean Ones, so they have separate costs for each of the different weapon loadouts. Other than that, everything is cool. The Demon Prince, so they have one cost with wings, one cost without, and then they have points per weapon, but all the weapons cost 10, so they could have just put 10 points. That's pretty much it. They have a couple of extra war gear for the Lord of Change, the Demonic Icons, Instruments of Chaos, and a Rod of Sorcery and Staff of Change. So they all are upgrades that you pay extra for. It also has the special loci. So they all get objectives secured for better or for worse. All the different codexes coming out, and with chapter approved, your troops can take objectives even if there are other non-troops enemies that are closer. They just override that. Pretty much every army has that now. Also, if your army is Battleforged, all characters in cast detachments gain Demonic Locus, so long as every unit in that detachment owes its allegiance to the same god, and then each one of them gets a different one. So Khorne, reroll charge distances. Nurgle, each time you make a wound roll of 6 for a Nurgle Demon unit within 6 inches of a friendly model with this locus, that attack inflicts an additional 1 damage. I can just see this being really cool with Death Guard and other Nurgle marked units. I think it's really cool with Obliterators. That makes them 1 plus D3 damage on a 6. Lots of cool things. So I really like those. Slaanesh has run and charge. It says units within 6 inches of a friendly model with the locus of swiftness in the charge phase can declare charge even if they advance. The Tzeentch one's the super weird one. Not super keen on this. It's a lot of dice keeping and stuff. Record keeping. Basically, roll 2 dice at the start of each fight phase and discard the highest result. So if you roll a 6, you got to get rid of that and take whatever else. It's important because at the end of that, until the end of that phase, each time your opponent targets a Tzeentch demon unit within 6 inches of a friendly model with the locus of Trickery and makes this hit roll, after re-rolls but before modifiers matches your remaining dice result, that hit roll fails. So, say you roll a 3 and a 6, you take away the 6. Anytime your opponents roll a 3, if it would normally be a hit, it counts as a miss. So again, Space Marines and stuff, that would be really cool. The issue is you take away the highest. So you could get a 1, which automatically does nothing because you already miss on a 1. You could roll a 2, which most things don't hit on a 2. So that would be kind of garbage. The big thing that it does is it basically makes one other number that's on a dice that's going to automatically fail to hit in the fight phase. Stratagems, there's only these 2 pages. Elephant in the Room is the very first one, Denizens of the Warp. It lets you deep strike a demon unit, any demon unit. As long as you have access to this, you can deep strike Mortarion, you can deep strike Magnus, you can deep strike a Lord of Skulls, you can deep strike all of that stuff with this. It's probably going to get nerfed.
Do you have to pay for the unit?
It's 1 point if it's 8 power level or less, or 2 points if it's higher.
But I mean,
it has to be part of your army. Yeah.
Okay.
But it lets you deep strike him. See, the issue is that those big power things, if you have it on the table, it might blow up before you get to use it. Deep strike, you can just put it out. They can't target it. It's in their face. What are they going to do about it? It's really good. But this is like what I was saying. I think that's going to be used to increase the power level of other armies. I'm sure this is going to get nerfed. Next one is really silly, but it could have been helpful for me in a couple of games, and I can't wait to use this against Aron in our narrative campaign. Because what it says is the following. Use this stratagem when one of your demon units, other than a named character, is destroyed by a Grey Knight's unit. That destroyed unit is returned to your army at full strength and set up on the battlefield at the end of your next movement phase, anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches from an enemy model. This does not cost any reinforcement points in a match play game. Oh, that's too bad.
So the entire point of this one army that can do one thing is now gone.
You do have to pay 2 CPs for it.
Oh, poor Josh. Dude.
I'm a Mephitic Blightholder 3-man unit, 500-point unit, boop, back on the table. Okay, next. Basically, the rest of these are kind of trash. You can take more artifacts. The artifacts are alright. Summoning Demon Possession is the other one that I think could be useful. Use this when an enemy Psyker suffers the Perils of the Warp. That unit suffers 2d3 mortal wounds instead of 1d3 mortal wounds, which is awesome because most Psychers are going to die from 2d3 mortal wounds. Super cool. Warp Surge. You get +1 invulnerable save for the unit, but you can't reroll. Guess it's okay, it's 2. I think the Nurgle, Khorne ones are pretty good. Lets you charge 3d6. Lets you reroll failed hit rolls. The other one is the unit can fight again in the fight phase. Totally awesome one. The Nurgle ones are all terrible, unfortunately. Regain D3 lost wounds for 2 CP. That's kind of garbage. I guess it's okay if you've got Mortarion. Great Unclean one. Plague Banner, attack. You can make Plague Bearers attacks too. And I think it's once per battle. Garbage. The other one is 2 CP. Reroll 1s for Disgustingly Resilient. For 2 for a unit. This is trash. The Blasted Standard for Tzeentch. I thought it was really awesome until I saw it was once per battle. Basically, you roll 9 dice. For every 6 that you roll, closest enemy unit takes a mortal wound. I was like, oh, you can do that every round. It costs 1 CP. I'm just going to buff all my units with it. It's going to be totally awesome. No. It's just once per game. The Slaanesh ones are actually pretty good. Extra attack with the same weapon. That one's kind of bleh. But the other one can reduce attacks characteristics from enemy models within 3 inches of one of your Slaanesh demon units. And also the other one lets you re-roll failed hit rolls. Another cool one. Warlord traits. They're all kind of blah. The Khorne one. Roll a dice each time your Warlord loses a wound on a roll of 6. It does not lose that wound. And then it gets to reroll failed and hit rolls made until the end of your next turn. That's alright, I guess. It's the same one that's the regular one with a little bit of spice. Add 1 to your attacks characteristic, whilst there are more enemy models within 8 inches of it than friendly models. Some of these are just garbage. The Nurgle one, your opponent must subtract 1 from all hit rolls that target your Warlord if the attacking unit is within 7 inches. I guess that's cool if you're going to be in combat. Yeah, they're just not good. Some of the Hellforge artifacts. You've got Khorne Axe, which is cool. Reroll all failed wound rolls when targeting a character. If wielded by a monster, this damage characteristic is 3. So, if you give it to a Bloodthirster or something, or
to the Great
Herald,
Unclean one holding the
it's
bell.
it's Khorne.
Oh, it's Khorne.
Nurgle does have one that replaces their Plague Sword, Bale Sword, Bile Blade, or Hellforge Sword. I guess a Hellforge Sword is for the Nurgle Demon Prince. Basically, it gives you a +2 strength, AP -3, D3 weapon, and it re-rolls all failed wound rolls. I think one that's pretty good is the Soul Stealer. It's back for Slaanesh. You can give this to your Keeper of Secrets, which it's going to need a way to regain wounds. Basically, every time a model is slain by this weapon, the bearer regains 1 lost wound. Reroll failed wound rolls made for this weapon when targeting elves. Eldari. Slight buff, whatever. The whole point is that if you get into a unit, a bunch of dudes, you can just keep your health up. Not too impressed with that. The psychic powers, not really impressed with those either. They basically have all of the spells that they had in the index, plus a couple of more. The Slaanesh one has a cool one that basically lets you attack again. That one's cool. Other than that, not super great. There's a Nurgle's Rot one, which is pretty cool. Roll a d6 for every unit within 7 inches of the Psyker. Other than Nurgle units on a 4+, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. I guess if you got your Nurgle Great Unclean one or something up in someone's face and got that cast off, that could be pretty cool if there's a bunch of units around. Like I said, Be'lakor got access to the Dark Hereticus discipline, but it only has 3 different things, and one of them is complete trash. The only one that's really good is Death Hex. Infernal Gaze is alright. I guess it's like an extra smite. Death Hex is already in the index, though, so everyone knows that. And Chaos Spawn are in the book as well. Not for purchase, but in case you transform something into something else. They also have some tactical objectives. Like I said, this book has got a lot of nerfs in it. It's got some really cool things to really spice up your other army, your other Chaos armies. Super excited about this book for Death Guard. There's a lot of really cool stuff that I see in this for Death Guard. And for other Nurgle Demon stuff, you could do a lot of cool stuff with this book. But other than that, that's what I got for you today. Excited to kind of go through this and really suss out some of the things that are kind of hiding in here. I think Khorne, Slaanesh, and Nurgle all got some really good things out of this. Tzeentch did not win this book. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, check us out on Facebook, on Instagram. We're really active on Facebook and YouTube, obviously. Patreon page. So, Patreon page, please, guys, check out our Patreon page. We got a bunch of levels for you to check in at. I think we can start at $150. Is that right, Aaron?
$1.50.
$1.50s are the lowest one, where you get access to all of our videos ad-free a week before. All of our 40k videos, I believe, ad-free a week before. At $3, you get access to our cool CGN dice. You get PDFs of all of our campaign stuff and the list that we're going to be doing. And then $10, you get access to the cool paint water, not paint water mugs that we have. $50, you can be part of our podcast. And then in addition to all the other levels that you have, we do a raffle every month. And one of our Patreon patrons will receive free stuff in the mail. Patreon, why do we ask people to check it out for us? It helps us provide more content for you. That's what we're most interested about. We have to buy cool things like this because GW doesn't send us this. So we buy this, we buy the models, we check them out for you, we paint them up and put them on the table and play cool games for you guys. Hopefully you find our content useful. We'd like to keep making it. So check us out on Patreon. And as always, we'll see you on the table.